David's Day. It does seem a very appropriate day to be remembering the life of not only an Everton player but a Welsh international footballer in Charlie Parry. So I'd just like to say a few words about Charlie's life on this special day. Of course, Everton has a long tradition of footballers who have been playing for the Welsh international team. Those of you with memories will think of Gary Speed, Barry Horn, Neville Southall, Kevin Ratcliffe. Maybe these slightly older people amongst us might remember the likes of Di Davis, Roy Vernon, even the great T.G. Jones. But if we go way, way, way back, decades before that, only the third Welsh international to represent Everton was Charlie Parry. Now, Charlie hailed from this part of the world, from the borders. He was a Christmas gift to his parents, born on the 25th of December, 1869, and he was brought up here in Oswestry on Arthur Street. Now, clearly, Charlie displayed talent at an early stage because he was playing for the town's youth team as a teenager and was spotted by a chap called William Nunnally, who later on became secretary of the Welsh FA and also an international referee. William brought Charlie as a teenager to play for a club called Chester St Oswald's, one of several teams in Chester, and it was there in his 2 years there that he was spotted by Everton FC, one of the emerging giants of the game in the very earliest years of the Football League. Now, Charlie was approached by Everton and was reluctant to go. He thought he wasn't good enough. It took some persuasion by the Toffees to actually get him to come to Anfield, and note that, not Goodison Park, it was Anfield back then. But in 1889 he did make the move, and he made his debut in the Football League on the first game of the 1889-90 season, and it was quite memorable. Everton won, they beat Blackburn 3-2. Charlie, playing as an inside forward, scored one of the goals. But on the debit side, the red mist descended after 82 minutes when referee Crump was obliged to send Charlie from the field for persistent fouling. So Charlie goes down in the record books for having been sent off on his debut, but also becoming the first Everton player in the record books to get his marching orders. But not one to be perturbed, Charlie was an ever-present in his first season for the club. He played in a variety of positions. He was very versatile. He played in what we'd now call midfield, but also up front. And I have a few words written here that the Liverpool Echo wrote about him after a couple of months in the Everton team. He said, "He is 19 years of age, 5 foot 8 inches in height, and weighs 12 stone 2 pounds when in good condition. He is a robustly built young fellow and has been extremely useful to the team, first as a forward and most recently as a half-back." So straight away, at that tender age, Charlie was making an impression on Evertonians. Everton came just short in the league that year. They came second to the great Preston North End team. But the next season, 1890-91, Everton were determined to win the league. Now, Charlie actually found himself out of the team early on, but being the feisty chap that he is, he fought his way back and was there in the team in midfield for the title run-in. And in spite of a late wobble in the last few games, Everton clung on and did become their very first league champions, bringing the title back to Anfield. So imagine that when you're just about 20 years old, come from Oswestry, played in Chester, and the next thing you know, you're actually a league champion in these earliest years of the Football League. And it was quite a momentous spring in 1891 for Charlie. Not only did he have his league champions medal, but he made his debut for Wales, the first of 13 appearances for the Welsh team, captaining them on 4 occasions. And also he married his wife, Ada Mervyn, a Liverpudlian girl, that same spring. So an amazing spring in his life. After that, Charlie found himself out of the Everton team and actually left at the back end of 1891 to join a new Liverpool team called Liverpool Caledonian, who were based in Wavertree. They were an ambitious new outfit who wanted to also get election to the Football League. But when they failed, Charlie was looking to move clubs again. Now, there was newspaper rumours that he was going to join a new club by the name of Liverpool FC. They'd moved into the vacated Anfield because Everton around that time had a little bit of a dispute with the landlord and had moved to Goodison Park. In the event, Charlie didn't join Liverpool. In December 1892, he returned to Everton in their new ground at Goodison Park. And over the next few years, he was a regular, generally as a defender, as a right back or a left back in the team. It's fair to say as I say, he was quite a feisty character on and off the pitch, and he had his run-ins with the club authorities. But such was his value to the team, he was always forgiven and would eventually return to the team. I've touched on that he was feisty, but he was a good player, Charlie. Contemporary reports say that he was excellent with the dead ball. He could place it on a sixpence from 60 yards. He had a good engine on him. He was versatile. So, you know, a key nowadays he'd be a midfield engine room kind of player, I would say. So clearly a talented player as well as a robust one. One newspaper report did mention that he had a habit of bashing goalkeepers, but to be fair, I think that was quite common in the day. Now, Charlie did move on from Everton in the autumn of 1895, and he came over to Wales to play for Newtown. Had a few seasons there. He reached the Welsh Cup final in 1897, sadly losing to Wrexham on that occasion. Whilst in Newtown, he also ran a pub, and it wasn't without difficulty. There were problems, and there was financial difficulties. But Everton actually came down and bought a team for a benefit match to help him with his funds. So that's quite telling how Everton, even back then, didn't forget their former players. In 1899, Charlie moved clubs again, but stayed within Wales and went over to the west coast to Aberystwyth. And in that 1899-1900 season, he was a key player when the Aberystwyth team won the Welsh Cup for the first and only time. He was in an excellent side. There was another good Welsh international player in there called Lee Richmond Roos, if anybody's heard of him. He later went to Everton, a fantastic character who very sadly died on the Western Front during the First World War. Charlie was multi-talented. It wasn't just football, he was an excellent cricketer. And whilst he was at Aberystwyth, he was taken on as their professional, the cricket professional. But later that year, he came back home to his roots here in Oswestry. He kept playing, but just to demonstrate that versatility, he became a goalkeeper for 6 years, so doing nearly about every position in the book. He was also the groundsman here, and I'm reliably informed that the football ground was literally just over there where you have the new houses, so it's quite fitting where we're located today. Charlie also did a spot of refereeing, and he also had to earn the corn for his family, working as a general labourer and later on as a sawyer at a railway works. But you know, life could be tough, and in later life, Charlie, who was bringing up 6 kids with Ada, came into ill health, what later transpired to be tuberculosis. Now, a few years earlier, Liverpool SC, to give them their due, had also come to play a benefit game. But when Charlie was really ill, word got back to Merseyside that he was struggling to look after the family. So once again, Everton came down in 1921 to play a benefit match for Charlie. But just a few short months later, in February 1922, Charlie did pass away from TB, aged just 52, and was laid to rest here in the town cemetery. Unsurprisingly, when you consider that Ada was left with bringing up the 6 children, there was no headstone provided. Tragically, just 4 years later, Ada herself passed away, leaving the 6 children to effectively bring themselves up. And I think it's remarkable that here today there's so many people from the family, and it's a testament to the Parrys that they thrived and are with us here today. So, about 15 years ago, the great-grandson of Charlie, a gentleman called Paul Lloyd, and his dad Trevor, were involved in an initiative to make sure Charlie was remembered here in Oswestry. And if you're in the town centre later, you will see there's a plaque in the market hall, and there's also an initiative to name a road in Oswestry, Charlie Parry Close. So it's good that even after all these years, Charlie isn't forgotten in Oswestry, and I think this is a wonderful extra piece of the jigsaw. So at this point, I'd like to invite Ian Snowden on behalf of Everton Football Club, and also Charlie's granddaughter Margaret to lay some flowers, because it's not just Charlie that we have laid to rest here, it is Ada, and Charlie and Ada's granddaughter Mavis, who tragically died from diphtheria at just 19 months old. So I'd just like to invite them to lay the flowers. thank you very much to them. Thank you, Ian, thank you, Margaret. Now, on behalf of Everton Football Club, if I could just invite Darren Griffiths to say a few words on behalf of the club. Thank you, Darren.
Thanks, Rob, and thanks to the family and also the Heritage Society for inviting myself and Ian Snowden along here this afternoon. It's always very humbling to be invited to an event like this. Myself from Snods, got the easy bit really. The Heritage Society deserve an awful lot of credit for the work that they do, and we're very proud of the relationship that we've got with the Heritage Society. I'm also fortunate enough to be a trustee of the Everton Former Players Foundation, and the name Charlie Parry doesn't instantly spring to mind when you think about Everton legends, but in my eyes, and I know in Snod's eyes and probably everybody else's eyes, if you win the Football League with Everton Football Club, then you are a legend, particularly if you've done it at Anfield. That I've been at for 29 years. And we've got links, of course, with the town of Oswestry. Alan Ball, one of our greatest ever players, spent his formative years in this neck of the woods because his father, Alan Ball Senior, who was such a massive influence on Alan's career, was the manager of Oswestry Town. And Charlie sounds just the sort of footballer that the likes of Ian Snowden can identify with. A robust, tough tackling, slightly ill-tempered player, not afraid to give it out to referees, and I'm sure everybody from the family is as proud of Charlie winning the league as I know that Ian and his family are when he did it with Everton Football Club some 96 years later. So once again, on behalf of Everton Football Club, thank you very much indeed for allowing Ian and myself to be a part of this. It's a wonderful, wonderful headstone, not just for Charlie, but for other members of the family as well. And I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.